Alrighty, welcome back to Professor Hartman. So, every great channel has gimmicks. Rax has got his blue sweatshirt. Charlie's got the white t-shirt. Asmongold has his dumpster-like living conditions. So, whenever I'm gonna something I'm passionate about, I'm gonna rant about, we're gonna go tank tops. So today we're talking about Dragon Age Veilguard and Avowed. Two very important RPG franchises as far as I'm concerned. Dragon Age is up there with Mass Effect. It's one of the legendary BioWare franchises, and it's special to me. Dragon Age 1 and 2, amazing games. Avowed, it's part of the Pillars of Eternity franchise. Not one I've personally played quite as much, but it is from Obsidian Entertainment, which is, one of our better RPG franchise or companies. Not only because of the games that they've made, Pillars of Eternity, etc., but the history, the background of Obsidian. Fergus is the founder, but more importantly is Black Isle Studios that he also founded. The history of that studio. That's Fallout, Baldur's Gate, Planescape Torment. If you don't know Planescape Torment from 1999, it's one of the greatest computer RPGs ever made. A lot of people consider it one of the greatest ever made. For me, for a long time, it was tied for one of my favorite games of all time, and that's still top 5, top 10. It was just, an incredible genius of a game. It took tons of risks. They were in a strange setting, the Planescape settings, not a normal Dungeons and Dragons setting. It wasn't Waterdeep. It wasn't the Forgotten Realms. It wasn't Greyhawk. No, it was this weird Planescape world. Very strange. There were unusual rules. You could swap your class on the fly. You woke up and didn't know who you were. It was cool. Amazing story. So, yeah, that's the history of that's Black Isle. That's Black Isle Entertainment. So when they come out with a game, it's a big deal. In a lot of ways, they're similar to Larian, a company that's a lot older than you think, or Obsidian / Black Isle, a company that's a lot older than you think, that has a very storied RPG history, and when they come out with an RPG, it's a big deal. So let's get something out of the way real quick, though. These accusations that either of these games are woke, and that wokeness is the problem. You can choose your pronouns for your characters. Dragon Age lets you be trans. It means nothing. It's a nice little feature for inclusion. That's it. It's just to make people feel comfortable with their character. Big deal. If that's woke to you, if that's a fucking pin in your butt, don't go outside because the sky's falling. That's ridiculous. Has barely any gameplay effect. Now, is there a really cringe as hell cutscene in Dragon Age where a character is scolding you for how you talk about someone who's non-binary? Yes, that shouldn't have been in the game. That's embarrassing. It really felt like a cutscene to me. Like, if anyone remembers this old game, Summit from 2000, and they had a cutscene where, let me make myself smaller here. In the credits, you could watch the after credits, and it was like characters from the game. That's one of the characters you can be. That's your main character. Here's what's really funny is there's a character playing D&D with you who, there it is. He's from a totally different game, Red Faction, I think. This guy in here is like one of the major bosses. They're all playing D&D together, and it's a hilarious scene. It's goofy, it's funny, it's awesome. The scolding binary scene almost played like that, but instead of being funny, it was just overbearing and preachy, and it was presented in the game, which just made it really inappropriate. So should have been in there, but you know what? You move past it and you're done. No big deal. The game itself is not overly woke. It doesn't shove woke things in your face, period. But as long as we're talking about woke in fantasy and sci-fi, most fantasy and sci-fi is woke and covers woke themes. Star Trek, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Marvel, DC, Dune, Game of Thrones, Jurassic Park, Terminator, Alien, Predator, Stargate. These franchises cover woke themes. All of them do. Why? Let me just tell all you woke haters out there, most intelligent, creative, artistic people are woke. If you don't like woke shit, you are the one with the problem. At its core, woke just means being aware of things going on around you in the world. That's all it means. Yeah, there are people who go too far, I understand, and they're insanely judgy and scoldy, and they probably do damage to the cause, but in general, things that are woke just means they're aware and paying attention to what's going on in the world. And people who are woke just tend to be smart, creative, imaginative, and progressive, and they want the world to be a better place. And that's not bad. That's not a bad thing. People using media, entertainment, fantasy, sci-fi to potentially teach lessons and to provide warnings of dystopias, that's a good thing. That's art and entertainment at its best, doing what it is best at. So if you got a problem with woke stuff, you're the one that's got the problem, and you need to chill the fuck out and shut the fuck up. And DEI also, learn what DEI is. DEI exists so that people in disadvantaged groups actually get a chance at a job, not given a job over someone that that's more qualified. No, there's so many sectors of jobs that are so, let's just be honest, white male dominated, and white males tend to hire more white males because they vibe with them. And that's just happened. That's natural. Well, if you want to make it fair, you need to counter it a little bit. You got to have some things in place to give other people a shot. That's all DEI is. So stop crying about DEI. Stop blaming shit on DEI. You just look like a stupid idiot. But yeah, so that's not the problem with these games. The problem with these games have nothing to do with that. And it doesn't mean, but the people who they chose to be in charge, they got there because of DEI and because of woke. No, they didn't. These people worked their ass off. A lot of these people I've met, I've talked to, they're smart, they're talented, they're creative. It's not that they are unqualified to work on these games. The problem is much bigger and more complicated than that. Yeah, and like most woke things in games tend to not really be slap you in the face. That one cutscene, yes, but typically it's not. Typically it's far more subtle than that. Like the Captain Kirk Uhura kiss. The interracial kiss that just rocked network television. They didn't give you a 10-minute speech about it. It just happened. Baldur's Gate 3 is full of woke concepts and themes. They don't slap you in the face with it. It's subtle. It's part of the story, and you roll with it. Back to Star Trek. The Klingons were Russians. The Romulans were the Chinese. The Vulcans were the Japanese. They didn't slap you in the face with it. They just kind of used it as a way to create allegories for geopolitics. Chekhov, a Russian, was on the bridge to give a hint that maybe someday we could be allies. Sci-fi fantasy does stuff like that, and it's awesome. But the problem with Veilguard is not any of that. That's not the problem. The problem with Veilguard is that it's boring. It doesn't take any risks. There's no new ideas. The combat is shallow. The combat's worse than Dragon Age 1 and 2. The art direction is boring. The armor looks bad. I used a mod to unlock every armor skin. There's not one armor skin I'd pay 10 cents for on a free-to-play shop. It's super easy. Normally I play RPGs at medium difficulty the first time through, just because I want to experience the story and I don't want to have a bunch of setbacks. And someone said try it maxed out. I played maxed out and it was a joke. The loot's boring. The levels are boring. They're small. They're cramped. They don't feel like a world. The skill web, or whatever you want to call it, is just complicated for no reason. It doesn't add anything to it. Doesn't add any flexibility. It's just, hey, let's make it look a little bit like Path of Exile. It's terrible. And then there's Avowed. Same thing. Look at this. You pay extra for these skins right here. Boring, drab, gray, brown junk. Every system in the game's been done before. You can compare the game to Skyrim and Oblivion, and those are more interesting. You can compare Avowed to the game they own, their own game, Outer Worlds. I mean, Outer Worlds has charm and panache and cool features and ideas and dialogue and story, and something went seriously wrong here. So what do I think went wrong? I mean, the biggest thing is a lot of these games, they're putting people in charge that don't have the experience to be in charge. They haven't shipped a game before. They didn't ship a game as an indie. They just slowly worked their way up and survived 27 rounds of layoffs and were the last man standing, so they got put in charge of the game. They yeah, and it's not their fault. It doesn't mean they don't have any ability or talent. It means they just haven't had the experience yet. They don't know what it takes to make a freaking game. They don't know that when you're making an RPG, first you make the first 80%, and then you make the last 80%. That's how it goes. They don't know that you need to have something happen in the first 10 minutes that blows you away. And if you don't, figure something out. Baldur's Gate, I'm going to go back to it. First 10 minutes, you wake up on that ship. You're in an alien spaceship in the middle of a fight with dragons and get Yankee. Holy shit, it's like an action movie. You're excited right from the beginning. Dragon Age and Avowed is just boring, generic RPG. Nothing exciting happens at the beginning at all. So maybe instead of, just someone who slowly worked their way up and survived layoffs, get some hotshot directors who shipped games. Look at some of these indies: Balatro, Lethal Company, Pal World, Vampire Survivors, Stray, V Rising. These are people that know how to make a game that's exciting. They know how to make exciting set pieces. They know how to get things off to an exciting start. They know how to finish. They know how to stick the landing. And they keep these teams together, for crying out loud. The freaking layoffs is just ridiculous. Like, I know Bobby Kotick needs $200 million every 5 seconds, or he has a heart attack. And these other executives that do nothing need to be overpaid. Maybe chill the fuck out with that a little bit and pay the people who actually make the game. And if you don't have a new game for them to move on to, then ask them to work on a passion project for 3 months. And maybe the passion project becomes a project for your studio. But keep them in the damn studio. Keep them together. Keep the team together. Let me show you a little example. Keeping a team together. Let's look at Supergiant Games. Bastion. Designer. Amir. Programmers. Gavin Andrew. Transistor. Amir. Greg Casavin. Gavin Andrew. Pyre. Amir. Greg. Gavin Andrew. Hades. Amir. Gavin. Greg. Gavin Andrew. Hades 2. Greg, again. What do you know? I thought Amir worked on Hades 2. Am I wrong? It says he's on Hades 2, so something I think is wrong here. I mean, these guys are amazing. And what do you know? They kept them together for all these games, and each game just keeps getting more and more insane. And this game's not even out yet. My daughter's been playing it early access. Look at this. 421 hours. Game's not even done. She's pretty discriminating. She's, PvP player, Diamond League, Grandmaster, Marvel Rivals. She's a lifetime serious gamer. And she's got 400 hours on a game that's not even out yet because it's so fucking good. That's what Dragon Age Veilguard should be like. That's what Avowed should be like. It should be people who worked on these same games. Let's look at Outer Worlds. Director Leonard Boyarsky, Tim Kaine. Cool. I bet you, where's the sequel? Brandon Adler. What happened? What happened to Leonard? He probably went off and formed his own studio now or something like that. Probably got laid off or some insane BS. Actually, I don't know. I shouldn't postulate. But the point is, why can't they keep these people together anymore? They keep these people together and the games are insane. You launch Veilguard and it's someone who's never directed a game before. Never directed a game before. And then you throw all the blame on them, and you make them be the scapegoat. It's ridiculous. You shouldn't throw one of the biggest RPG franchises in the history of RPGs onto people who've never shipped a game or never directed a game. So, a few other things. Let me drive by a few more people. Game journalists, stop lying about these games. Stop giving these games ridiculous review scores. I mean, come on with this garbage. Where's the score? Come on. Ridiculous. Liana, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. I don't know who leaned on you or what. That's an outrageous score. I mean, this is a 6 or a 7 at best. Be honest. This is not a 9. This is not one of the greatest RPGs of all time. It's ridiculous. It destroys your credibility. It doesn't hold people accountable. I mean, did you guys do any better on this one? This is better. Look, the funny thing is I'd actually say Avowed is probably a better game than Dragon Age Veilguard. Granted, that's my opinion. But this is actually, you learn your lesson. Travis, way to go, buddy. This is a fair score. You got to be honest. Stop giving 9 reviews to these mediocre and garbage games. Stop defending dumb shit like that non-binary scold scene. Make fun of it and keep your credibility. And publishers, stop lying about the reception. When Dragon Age Veilguard comes out and everyone thinks it sucks, don't say everybody loves it. Don't lie. Don't say the sales are great, just to 2 months later admit the sales are trash and you fire the team and you sack the whole studio. Come on. At least Concord admitted their failure. Offer some refunds or something. Or promise that you're going to pull a No Man's Sky or a Cyberpunk and fix it. Either one. But we got to stop destroying these RPG franchises because you can't just reinvent them. Once Dragon Age is destroyed, once Mass Effect is destroyed, once Pillars of Eternity is destroyed, once Outer Worlds, if they ruin that one next, what about Knights of the Old Republic? What if they make Knights of the Old Republic 3? And it's garbage. Once you destroy these franchises, you can't get them back. They take decades to build and moments to ruin. And I'm sick of these RPG franchises that I love getting ruined. I'm sick of MMORPG franchises never even getting to exist. And the fix is not that difficult. Hire people with experience actually shipping games and finishing and designing games. Keep your teams together. If it's a good team, keep them together. Pay the people. You have the money. It's a $200 billion industry. Pay your team to stay together. And if you're stuck, hire me. I'm a consultant. Hire me. I'll come help you. But the main 2 things I'm going to help you do are the first 2 things I just said. I'm going to help you find an indie dev from one of these other teams. I'm going to help you find a hotshot indie dev who knows how to ship games. And I'm going to harass you into giving people contracts where they don't get laid off every 10 seconds. And let's also, I'm not even going to go here for the moment, but let's not think about how it affects the quality of your work when every 2 seconds you're looking over your shoulder for a pink slip. So, companies, you got a lot to fix. And you need to own this, and it's your fault. These games are not as good as they could be. And stop destroying our franchises.